Hi there and welcome to my channel. Today's project is part of the Altenew September 2019 release and they're holding a blog hop and a giveaway to celebrate the new release. And there's a lot of products that are being released that are beautiful, and they're starting with I'm going to say some of the holiday stamps and dies. So for this project I'm going to use two of the dies, which is the Snowflake Star cover die. These are the layer ones. I'm going to use the A and the B, and also the flower garden stamp set. And my idea is I want to create long strips of die cuts, and for that I'm going to actually use, I'm going to see like a blushy tone and a violet tone of a cardstock, and you're going to see that I'm going to play with one of the cover dies. I'm going to show you one, and then I'm going to take it off camera and work with the other one. So what I'm going to do is I want to make sure that I create a continuous strip of the die cut. For that I have to make sure that when I place my die on top of the platform on my die cutting machine, that the ends, because it's a rectangle, I gotta make sure that the ends of the rectangle don't cut the cardstock. So one of my choices is to make sure that the end of the, in this case the end of the die, is outside of the platform, or that I don't put pressure in that area. And I struggle a little bit with this. I've done it before, but for some reason that day it wasn't just clicking in my brain until I did the first strip, and then the other ones just work really easily. So you're gonna see that I start with one of the cuts. I make sure that the end is outside of the cardstock area, so it's not gonna cut the end. And then I'm gonna kind of flip the page and just kind of place the die so that I only cut the center of the die. And again, I don't want to cut the edges because that's gonna give me a rectangle. I want a long strip that's gonna fit the width of my paper. So you're gonna see how I'm gonna start playing with it. Like I said, I struggled a little bit with the first cut just because I wanted to make sure that you know, I had a continuous strip, one, and second, because it's such a geometric pattern, you want to make sure that you are the triangles in this case fit properly. Otherwise you're gonna have an offset, and it's really hard to hide that, especially when you're layering the two pieces. So I just kind of struggled a little bit with that at the beginning. Like I said, the first strip was the struggle, but then the other three ones were super easy because I already knew what to do. So once I had them in place, and like I said, I took it off camera and worked them. Once I had them in place, I'm gonna layer them together. And these Dyson, I'm gonna say Dyson because it's two of them. It's an A and a B. It's beautiful. I can imagine doing Christmas cards with this. It's gonna speed up my process really by quite a bit of time, especially because I create cards to send to my family in Ecuador. So going back to the project, all I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna layer the A and the B strips that I created with the Layered Snowflake Stars cover dies. So I'm gonna layer them together so they give me this trellis look. And then I'm gonna document a picture of my daughter. A couple of weeks ago, she likes to play the guitar, and she likes to go in her room and do it on her own. So sometimes I just pop in and take a picture of her doing it. She's very private about that sometimes. Some of the times she just sits on the couch and do it. So while so I have this idea that I want to kind of put the picture above the trellis. So I'm going to use one of the stamps, and this stamp is the Flower Garden, which is one of the new releases too from Altenew. And my idea is, if you see the guide for that comes with the stamp, there's this image of the stamps. It's going to sound redundant, but the stamp stamped with black ink, on white cardstock, and just has splatters of color. And I'm gonna mimic the idea for this layout. So you're gonna see that I'm using my stamping platform just to speed up the process, and I'm using the black obsidian ink. That's the pigment ink from Altenew to create the flower outlines. And this is gonna speed up my process. Unfortunately, there's no die for this stamp set, so I just went out of camera and fussy cut all the areas. Now here's what I'm gonna start creating the splatters. For this, I'm gonna bring the Altenew watercolor pan set, and all I'm gonna do is just I'm showing you the image right now. All I'm gonna do is just bring my little Altenew palette. This is my watercolor palette, and I'm just gonna pick colors that I have on the background. So I'm gonna pick some violet, a little bit of pink, a little bit of blush, just to combine all the colors together. You're gonna see a little bit of orange. I want to bring warm tones and a little bit of green. So I'm gonna show you one, and all I did is add a little bit of water to my palette, add the color. I'm gonna make it really fluid because I want to create splatters. So if I make them, I'm not saying the most fluid, but but I want to make it runny enough that I can splatter on the paper. And literally that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna splatter on top of the flowers. I'm not gonna go crazy with them, just a little bit, and I'm gonna try to combine some colors, a little bit of orange, a little bit of pink, some violet, just to have, like I said, a combination of all the colors that I have going on my layer. And I'm bringing orange because the paper that I'm gonna back the picture with, it's one from the Live Your Dream collection. It has some orange tones in it, so I'm gonna bring that. And also, because I'm going to change the background on my page, because I'm using all these white flowers, I'm going to make something that's going to contrast really nicely. So I'm going to go with a navy. So I'm bringing orange and all the warm tones so it looks nice with the blue as the background. So you're going to see, like I said, I'm just going to bring the colors, add them to my palette, and then add some water, make it fluid, and then use the liquid pigment, in this case, to add the splatters on my flowers. And I'm going to set them aside to dry. Took no time to create this. The only thing that took a little bit longer was to fussy cut the images. I'm keeping my fingers crossed the Altenew creates a die for this, so that it will make it easier to cut the images. But even like I said, I fussy cut. It didn't take me that long. I enjoy fussy cutting, and the images are not that complicated to fussy cut. So you're gonna see, like, I did the entire images that I actually stamped. I did all of them with splatters, and all I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna start building my layout. Like I said before, I switched my background to a navy cardstock from white because I just wanted to show the contrast. I wanted the stars that I created with the dice to show nicely, and I think by having the dark background, it's just the colors are gonna pop. So all I'm gonna do is just add glue behind the die cuts. In this case, I'm gonna go through the horizontal lines and then just glue it so that it's off the page. I thought that if I put the two strips together, not together but the full strip, there was going to be just a small space left in the middle. So my choice was to kind of skip one of the triangle lines, or one of the lines, and then just glue it from them on. And that's just going to give me a little bit more space in the middle where I'm going to place my picture. So once I glue the two strips to the top and bottom edges of the layout, I'm going to go ahead and just trim all the excess that I have, and I'm going to keep it at I think I saved it, but you know what, I can easily create another one. So what I did, like I said before, is I used one of the papers from the Live Your Dream collection just to create a mat behind the picture. I want to make sure that it stands out, and I'm gonna add some foam adhesive before I add it to my layout. And you're gonna see that I'm not gonna add it, I'm gonna say, on a very linear line. It sounds really bad, I know, it's redundant. Like, it's gonna be a little bit offset because I want to make sure that the flowers kind of move around it. So once I glue it onto my page, and like I said, I use a little bit of foam adhesive just to lift it off the page, I'm gonna go ahead and start building the cluster. And I'm gonna create a cluster that's gonna go from behind the picture all the way to the bottom of the picture. And for this, I'm gonna use all the flowers that I splattered the watercolor with, the ones from the flower garden. You're gonna see that I'm gonna show you a little bit. Like I mentioned before, is I usually start with the biggest flower and kind of work myself from there, kind of diminishing in size and creating the movement that I want. So my apologies, it's that time of the year where there's allergies are really high, and my allergies are kicking in at the worst times sometimes. So all I did is I created a cluster, and then I'm going to create another cluster kind of on a diagonal line to the picture. And that's just gonna balance the layer. And I'm gonna make this cluster a little bit bigger just to balance the area that I have with the picture. Again, I am using the same flowers. I'm gonna use some foam adhesive behind it just to create some movement on the flowers. And because they're all white and with different splatters, I wanna make sure that I create dimension just to create a little bit of separation, and it doesn't look like a big white blob, but there's actually some definition. Once I have that in place, you're gonna see that it took me a little while to build this just because I want to make sure that there's some movement, that everything coordinates nicely. But once I have that, you're gonna see that the top cluster kind of created a C, an inverted C. So I'm going to use that little space that is underneath that cluster to add my title. And I debated with a few ideas of what to add for my title, and you're going to see in a little bit. I'm going to bring actually some mini alphas from my stash. I think it's a pink paisley collection a couple collections ago, just to spell the title, which is going to be Follow Your Dreams. Just trying to bring the colors that I have on the flowers. I also brought one of the wood veneer butterflies. This is from the Reflections collection from Altenew, and also a few wooden hearts from the wood veneer collection from Altenew too. Just to finish this page, I'm going to add a few splatters of white ink. I want the white so it brings some of the white of the flowers onto the layer, and also going to splatter a little bit of gold just to warm up all the page, and also to bring some like a little bit of shine to the layer. I added my lines of journal outside of the camera after I photographed it, and I just put them right next to the picture, and that's about it. I love how this turned out. It was actually pretty simple to put together. Like I said, what took the longest was just to create the first die cut, just to make sure that I have a sense of how not to destroy it, because you gotta be careful because it's a rectangle and I want to cut entire strip. And then what it took, I'm gonna say a little bit longer than I expected, was fussy cutting the flowers, just because the flower garden stamp set does not have a coordinating die. But I love how this turned out. I hope you try it. As always, if you have any questions or how this came together, or the stamps or the dies that I use, do not hesitate to contact me. Remember to check out the new to see all the stamps and dies that they are releasing, and stop by my blog so you can have a chance to win gift certificates to the store and join in the hobby. Be inspired. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care, guys.